Hello, I'm Belinda. I'm an indie dyer from Germany, and you are watching the second episode of my little creative podcast centered around sewing and knitting. Today, I want to talk about one finished object. It's a surprise finished object because I didn't announce it last podcast episode. I also have three works in progress to talk about. Two of them you already know, the other one is new and one plan I have to start after this podcast, probably. In the end, I want to try to open a little chatting corner where I talk a little bit about my life as an indie dyer and yeah, some shop news or personal news or whatever comes up in the 3 weeks that pass between podcast episodes. So let's start with the surprise finished objects. Little baby medieval tunica I made for my son, and it's made from old IKEA curtains. This was a spontaneous make for my son because we decided that we wanted to go to a Renfair yesterday, or as we call it in Germany, a Mittelaltermarkt, literally translated medieval market. And yeah, I wanted that we all had a little bit to wear to it. My husband and I already got a little bit of costumes going on, so yeah, I thought it would be very cute if the baby had something too. I didn't draft this pattern myself. I used the same pattern you saw last episode, the McCall's M8461. It's a pattern with a romper, a shirt, and trousers for kids from, I think, 6 months old to 4 years old. And this is already the second project I made with a size 1 year old. So I'm getting really my money's worth out of the pattern mix. Really can recommend it. The thing I did different for this pattern is I did not sew a collar. I just used the width of the placket that should have been there and used it to make a slit in front. I finished that with a facing. I will turn it inside out in a moment. And for the neckline, I finished that with a narrow cotton bind. This is the inside, and as you can see, I sewed a little facing for the slit. I think I could have made it shorter, but it's not as if it would be worn every day, so it should be okay. The bias facing I used to finish the neckline. I stretched it out a little bit, but for baby projects, I'm not so mad about it. My son has a really big head, so I again needed to widen the neckline somehow. I didn't want to use the solution I did last time where I sewed in a snap tape to open and close the front deeper because I thought the slit was already pretty deep. So what I did this time is I cut away 1.5 centimeters of the neckline. So this was wider. Of course, then he's a little bit more exposed around the neck, but something had to give to fit it over his head. And I'm very happy with it because it was spontaneous. We had so much fun at Renfair and he looked so cute. The fabric I used for this little tunica is indeed an old IKEA curtain we had in our old flat. We used it for 4 years, and when we moved here, we didn't have the right windows to use the curtains again, so it was just really nice linen fabric laying around in my stash. My kid is not really sensitive to skin issues. I would not recommend this for every 1 year old, so it might be a little irritant for more sensitive babies. I tried to find the IKEA curtains again, and I think they don't have this heavy linen quality anymore. Next, we have the works in progress, and I want to start with my hand knitting work in progress. And it is the Jasmine Scarf. And I always store my scarves in a burrito like this. And because I have to use a cable needle, I just put it in there and store it like this. It has already gotten quite a bit of length. This is the Jasmine Scarf pattern by Pearl Soho. It is a free pattern. I can put the link down below if you want to knit it as well. It's supposed to become a 2-meter scarf knit with 4mm needles and a cable needle, and it has a really nice, lovely herringbone pattern. I'm really excited to wear this. The yarn that I used is my soft and silky in the color platinum. I hand dye the yarn myself. As I mentioned, I'm an indie dyer, so this is my own yarn. And I thought it would be a really nice yarn fit for this project because it's drapey and a little bit silky and very soft, so perfect for a scarf. Actually, this yarn came from a frogged sweater project that I tried to knit per hand, but again and again I learned that I cannot knit sweaters per hand. I do not have the patience. I always get lost on Sleeve Island, and then they lie around for years waiting to be finished, and at some point I decided, okay, it's okay. I will frog you, I will make you into something new. I will probably use around 4 skeins for this project to get to 2 meters. And I had 7 skeins for the sweater, so I have more than enough to make a really nice scarf. Actually, I started this project on May 31st, so it's been in the making for a while. We are like 2/3 done with the scarf, and even if I've gotten into a really nice groove with the cable pattern, or the cable knitting, I need a break. It's a little too monotonous for me now. Probably one of the reasons I don't finish any sweater ever when I hand knit. It's too much of the same for me. So I will take a little break on this project, and I already have another hand knit project for my net knitting in store, which I will present to you after the work in progress. My next work in progress is my machine knitting work in progress, and it's the matrix sweater still. Perhaps you remember from the last video. The pattern is the Yvonne sweater by Heidi May, and it's a classic stockinette raglan sweater, top down, and I modified it that it can be knitted with my knitting machine. So I split the pattern at the raglan increases, and I'm knitting it piece by piece with my knitting machine. So the front, the back, and both sleeves. The reason I wanted to buy this pattern was because it has an incredible size range. It is a really plain stockinette raglan sweater, but the size range goes from 1 to 2-year-old to adult 6XL. So I have one pattern and I can use it for so many sweaters that will come in the future for my children and perhaps again for my husband. Let's see how this goes. I don't know if I mentioned it already. This sweater is for my husband. I think it's the size XL. So if you're wondering why this is so massive on me, this is not for me. So I finished the back panel. It came out very beautiful. The reason I did not have a lot of progress on this one was because it would be too loud for my baby that sleeps next door. So I don't have a lot of chances to knit with a machine nowadays, especially because I have a lot to do in the shop in the moment. And I will tell you more about it in the last section where I have a little chatting corner for shop updates and my life stuff. The yarn that I use is again my own hand-dyed yarn, the Super Sock quality in the color Pine and Sage. I had to dye another pair of skeins because I was too optimistic with my yarn quantities. So for the last sleeve, I need another pair of yarn skeins. I think the colors should match nicely. I'm usually very good at matching batches. There might be a slight variation, but I think because of the marling together of the colors, it will not be very noticeable. The machine knitting makes this funny matrix pattern. So it looks like the movie Matrix. The back didn't get as stripy as the other ones, perhaps because I wound the yarn together a little different. Originally, I wanted to have the really heathered look that you get when you knit with 2 different colors in hand knitting. But I think with machine knitting, it just doesn't work this way. For a future project, I will take again two contrasting colors and use my spinning wheel that you can see in the back here, and twist the yarns together a little bit more and see if this will result in more heathering. Now we come to my last work in progress, and for that I have to switch up the setting here a little bit. This is my current sewing work in progress. If you watched my last episode, you may have seen at the end that I had planned for this beige racerback top. This is a self-drafted pattern for my personal measurement. It has a racerback, a high neckline, and some bust stuff. A special feature that I'm really excited about how it will turn out is the self bra or the shelf bra that I am sewing into this pattern. As you can see, the fabric will be half lined with this power mesh fabric. So inside of the top will be a little bit of a support bra, so I don't have to wear a bra under it, because if you have these racerback necklines, you often see the bra straps peeking out at the shoulder, and it's also just a second garment you have to wear. And I had a lot of cool built-in bra solutions while I was still nursing my baby. And I thought that was just so genius. So I really wanted to implement this feature in my future sewing pattern. A pattern for the self bra or shelf bra, however you want to call it, is the same as the pattern. So the outer pattern and the inner pattern are identical, but the inner fabric, so the power mesh, has less stretch than the ribbing. The ribbing has about 75% of stretch, and the power mesh has around 50% of stretch. So the difference in stretchiness should give me a nice support where I need it. The outer fabric is, as I mentioned last time, the 2-to-1 ribbing from Mind the Maker, and it is in the color Dune. Power mesh is really, really soft. It's of a high quality, so I can wear it against my skin. It's from a German shop, especially made to have a lot of bra making supplies. So I can link it below. Be aware that it's in Germany and it may not ship internationally. I don't know that. Sewing this has been quite okay so far. The power mesh is a little bit more slippery than I'm used to for sewing with my usual fabrics, so this was a little bit more difficult. I also am still getting used to sewing with a serger, so the bust darts came out a little more pointy than I would want to, but I think because it will stretch around my body, it will be not noticeable when I wear the pattern and when I wear the garment anymore. The two garments, the bra and the outer top, are joined at the shoulder, but they will be completely separate on the other seams. So I will finish the side seam from the inner fabric and outer fabric completely separately. So the bra is just inside and I can move my body independently from the outer fabric that will fit a little bit looser. The lower edge will be finished with a 4 cm elastic, so this will shorten quite a bit. One word about the neckline finish. So I just chose to go with one layer that I would fold around the neckline, but I ended up making it too narrow. This way you can see it better. I used 3 times the width of the finish I wanted to have. This would be like I wanted to have a 1 cm finish. So I thought, okay, I would fold it on once, twice. So thrice the width of the finished neckline should be enough. No, it is not. You should take around 4 times as wide as the finished neckline. And so I just had barely any fabric to cover the the edge of the neckline. So we are back for the last two installments or parts of this podcast episode. And next comes the new project plan. My new project is, as I mentioned, a hand knitting project because I need a break project for my nap knitting. The new project that I want to start is the basic Neckwarmer by Hannah Ormova. I hope I pronounced that alright. It is basically a turtleneck raglan where you just stop knitting around shoulder length, and it's just something you can throw over in winter, and it's holding your neck warm, and it's an alternative to a scarf or anything else that you would have to warm your neck. The original pattern is knit in stockinette, but in the projects I found a version with knit 5 purl 1, and because you increase the rounds you have like diagonals going around it, and I found it very, very beautiful. I will put a picture here. I thought about which yarn I would use, and after thinking about it a little bit, I noticed that it would be best if I used some leftover yarn that I still had from other projects, and actually I have the perfect yarn for it. It's the leftover cashmerino from my fourth hat that I showed you in the last episode. I knitted the brim with it, and I should still have enough left to knit a little neck warmer. The pattern suggests you need around 50 grams. I have not weighed this yet, but I think it should be enough. So I would have a matching set actually. I think that will be very nice. So what's new in my shop? My shop is called Featherfin Yarn, and actually it will turn 10 years old next month. I cannot believe that I'm doing this for this long. For 10 years I have mainly had a dye to order business that was just the most practical thing for me. I studied in university, I had a day job, and also not very much money to invest in my project or in my shop. So having a stash of undyed yarn and dyeing it in the colors that were actually wanted by the people was a much better use of my limited time I had next to my day job or my study. At the same time, it was something I so enjoyed. I mean, all people always look at me like, what is your job? You dye yarn? It's such a niche thing, and it brings me so much joy. Yeah, developing my color palette and developing techniques, how I like to dye them, how I get the results that I want. It has been a 10-year process, and I'm very proud of the yarns that I offer, very proud of the colors that I offer, of the work I put into it, how my working space evolved, and I'm especially thankful for my husband who supported me, yeah, for the last 10 years. We are not married for 10 years, but we're together for more than 10 years. It started in our little flat when I was still studying, and I started dyeing yarn in our kitchen. It was all over our lives, and he was just so supportive. Even if honestly, I'm not making enough money quite yet, he still says it's more important for him that I'm happy and I can do what I love, and he really believes in me and that I can make it. The reason I don't have a lot of time recently for machine knitting is I'm preparing a big in-stock yarn update. So what do I mean with it? I already mentioned I have started as a dye-to-order yarn business, but I have put up a few polls on Instagram, and were a lot of people that wished for more yarns to be stocked. It is more of an investment for me because I have, firstly, it's a time investment because I have to dye first, and then I have money and time bound in yarn. It's a really normal thing, but for me it's new. Yeah, that's a big step for me, and I'm dyeing a lot and I'm taking a lot of pictures, and all will be uploaded on the day my business will turn 10 years, and that's September 14th. So if you want to shop this big update with a lot of yarns that are ready to ship immediately all over the world, then yeah, please write it in your calendar or subscribe to my newsletter. There will be a little notice when the yarn is up. or follow me on Instagram. And one thing I wanted to do to make this update even more special than just updating my business policies to have more stock yarns available, I also added a yarn base that was demanded by popular request and that is also very popular in the knitting world right now. And it is the typical mohair silk blend. This is my new base. It is named Kid Silk and it is 64% kid mohair and 36% mulberry silk. So it is the typical very fluffy yarn strand that you use with other yarns together, mostly in a lot of trendy patterns. I have seen a lot of projects where my super sock yarn has been used with a industrial mohair strand, and I just wanted to offer the possibility that you can combine a super sock yarn or a soft and silky yarn from myself together with the exact same mohair color. For this update there will be, I think, around 15 mohair colors stashed on the shop. This is my gauge swatch from when I tested the mohair yarns to decide which I want to take in the shop. So yeah, please wish me luck that I will get everything done, and check in on the anniversary update. It's on September 14th. Thank you for listening to me today. I hope you had a lot of fun. Please tell me if you like the chatting and the end with a little bit of updates around the shop or my life, and if anything new should pop up. And yeah, I hope to see you again in 3 weeks. Bye bye.